January 29th, 2026. A Ukrainian FPV drone targeted a Russian soldier. The Russian soldier tried to escape, but failed. Another Russian soldier in the same area was also targeted by an FPV drone. The Russian soldier spotted the drone, but found nowhere to escape. However, despite having a weapon, he did not use it. This time, the target was Russian soldiers traveling by vehicle. The soldiers managed to get out of the vehicle and escape, but the military vehicle was completely disabled. The Ukrainian Signum Battalion continuously detected Russian soldiers in the Lyman and Sumy regions and targeted them one by one. It is noteworthy that Russian soldiers were unable to advance very far in harsh weather conditions and lacked adequate equipment. However, it is unclear exactly where these soldiers were headed. Do you think these soldiers were wandering around aimlessly? Look at the soldier trying to escape the drone by hiding behind a tree. Russian forces are really in a tough spot on the front lines. The fact that these soldiers are wandering around alone on the front lines leaves them completely defenseless. Several more Russian soldiers were spotted in the same area, and they too became targets of the drones. Did these soldiers abandon their positions, or did they go missing? A Ukrainian attack drone that managed to infiltrate the Russian trench detected 2 Russian soldiers sitting in the trench. The soldiers were attacked by the drone before they could understand what was happening. Look at the Russian soldier wandering alone in the Donetsk region, far from his own position. A Ukrainian reconnaissance drone spotted the Russian soldier and followed him for a while to see what he would do. However, the Russian soldier was wandering around aimlessly. Moreover, he was in an area quite close to Ukrainian defense positions. The FPV drone sent for the attack began rapidly advancing toward the location of the Russian soldier. The Russian soldier heard the drone and tried to hide behind a tree, but it was too late. Within seconds, the drone struck the Russian soldier. This time, the attack targeted 2 Russian soldiers who chose a very different hiding place. The soldiers hiding in the tunnel became the drone's direct target. You need to watch this attack carefully, because it's quite an interesting attack. A Ukrainian FPV drone managed to infiltrate a Russian trench and began searching for Russian soldiers in the area. However, no movement was detected. Furthermore, the trench is surrounded by barbed wire and nets for defense against drones. After searching the area for a while longer, the FPV drone detected a Russian soldier. The soldier had come out of the trench and was sitting completely motionless. The FPV drone crashed directly into the soldier. But why was the soldier doing such a thing? Look at the soldier caught by a drone while sitting outside the trench. Ukrainian forces managed to infiltrate a Russian position in the east of the Donetsk region and immediately launched an attack on the positions with high explosive drones. Approximately 20 drones were used, targeting Russian ammunition depots and trenches. The Russian trenches dug underground are quite well protected. However, they are not inaccessible to drones. In addition, Russian soldiers have left their ammunition in open areas. This mistake has caused them considerable damage. Russian soldiers, who already face major logistical support problems, are finding themselves in an increasingly difficult situation on the front lines. Ukrainian forces detected 3 Russian soldiers in the Pokrovsk region. The soldiers were hiding in an abandoned, dilapidated building. A drone carrying a powerful explosive was immediately sent to attack. The drone entered the soldiers' hiding place and exploded. The explosion was so violent that no one survived the attack. Russian soldiers made a sign and wrote a message. It stated that they needed a generator and required assistance. They most likely wrote this so a friendly drone would see it. However, they became the target of an FPV drone. These were Russian drone operators. 8 antennas, 3 cars, a 4-wheeled motorcycle, an infantry fighting vehicle, and a cannon were also destroyed in the area. These attacks show that Russian soldiers are in a very difficult situation in the Donetsk region and even on many fronts. Look at the attacks. Ukrainian forces are constantly carrying out logistical attacks. Military communication antennas, military vehicles. The soldiers who requested generator assistance a moment ago are the biggest victims of this. Under all these conditions, how much longer can Russian soldiers hold out on the front lines? Winter conditions, in particular, have forced them entirely into a defensive position. Attacks on Russian military logistics vehicles continue. Military vehicles transporting supplies to the front, particularly in the Donetsk region, are being targeted by drone attacks. Ukrainian forces are closely monitoring logistics routes. Any damage inflicted on these vehicles puts Russian soldiers on the front lines in a difficult position. Without sufficient ammunition, food, and military supplies, the Russian soldiers' ability to fight is steadily diminishing. But Russian forces continue to insist on using the same routes. Once again, German-made Leopard 1A5 tanks belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces are attacking Russian trenches in a forested area in the Donetsk region. The frequent use of Leopard tanks in these attacks indicates that the Ukrainian forces have a large number of these tanks. It is a highly effective force in both urban and field operations. We do not know what type of ammunition this tank is firing at the trenches. If you have any information on this, please share it with us in the comments. A Ukrainian military FPV drone was attacked by 2 Russian unmanned aerial vehicles. The Russian unmanned aerial vehicles attempted to shoot down the drone but were unsuccessful. The reason why several attempts to knock it down by colliding with it failed was that the Ukrainian drone was relatively larger and the drone operator performed precise maneuvers. Russian soldiers were spotted in the Pokrovsk region this time. A large group of Russian soldiers approaching the thermal system of a Ukrainian FPV drone became the drone's target. These advanced systems now provide more effective drone control on the battlefield. A Ukrainian drone operator searches for Russian soldiers in trenches in the Zaporizhzhia region. Look at the state of the trenches. These are no longer safe places for a soldier to live. A Russian soldier was spotted not long ago. He was trying to hide from the drone by staying still, but it was useless. This Russian soldier was spotted by a drone while walking in open terrain. He can be seen firing at the drone, but all his efforts were in vain. For a few seconds, the Russian soldier became the drone's target. A Leopard tank belonging to Ukrainian forces attacked a building near Donetsk, where Russian soldiers were stationed. This German-made tank is one of the most effective vehicles on the front line. Russian soldiers are unable to respond to the intensity of the attack. The tank fires repeatedly, turning the area into ruins, and it does this alone. After a tank attack lasting several minutes, the building is completely destroyed and the tank leaves the area. The sheer power of the Leopard is undeniable. In your opinion, is this the most dominant tank on the front line right now, or is there another vehicle that can top this? Drop a comment and let's discuss. The Ukrainian armed forces launched a large-scale, coordinated operation targeting Russian air forces in Crimea, which is under Russian control. Using sophisticated FPV drones and long-range kamikaze UAVs, Ukrainian special forces, particularly the SBU's Alpha group, successfully neutralized a significant portion of the Russian air fleet during the operation. Take a closer look at the drone attack. This is a truly delicate operation. Drones, costing just $500, are taking out military aircraft worth millions of dollars one by one. Isn't it rather strange that Russian forces have taken no precautions against drones in such a region? The scale of this operation is unprecedented. Official reports confirm the destruction of 15 aircraft in total, including high-value targets such as 2 Su-30SMs, 2 Su-27s, and 2 MiG-31s interceptors. The strike also decimated 5 Su-24 bombers, which have been primary tools for Russian air raids. The precision of these drone strikes wasn't limited to fighter jets. The Russian logistical backbone was also hit hard. 2 and 26 transport aircraft were destroyed, along with a fleet of helicopters, including the massive Mi-26, the Mi-28 attack helicopter, and the Mi-8 transport. Violent clashes between Ukraine and Russia continue. However, Russian forces have now retreated to defensive positions. Russian forces in defensive positions are now facing attacks from many more drones. Ukrainian forces are able to launch attacks more easily against Russian soldiers holding fixed positions. Ukrainian forces have turned the winter to their advantage. They are launching relentless attacks on areas where Russian forces are concentrated, forcing Russian soldiers to withdraw from the region. Do you think Ukraine will be able to recapture the regions under Russian control? Russian forces are suffering thousands of casualties in just one day. Share your thoughts and analysis with us in the comments.